Hello and welcome to Ally Assessment. This is a new show where I'll be talking about the history and backstories of some of your favorite allies and side characters in games who either didn't get enough love or have backstories that you have to go searching for to find. And let's face it, who wants to do that? Well, me for one. And I'm planning on sharing this information with you. So, who am I going to cover today on my very first installment? Why, none other than Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy VII. Now, Vincent falls into the latter of my two categories because he is well loved. In fact, he's one of the most beloved Final Fantasy VII characters out there. But the game just makes his origin such a big mystery. Well, unless you're willing to find all the little hidden Easter eggs in the game that reveal his backstory. Or at least hint at it. But for those of you who missed finding him the first time through, or for those who just don't know where to look to find the little tidbits of hidden story, you've got me! So, let's get started with Final Fantasy VII's brooding vampire, Vincent Valentine. Before I get started though, I do gotta say, there will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII or Dirge of Cerberus, then I highly recommend that you pause this video and do so now. Final Fantasy VII is available on the PlayStation Store for the PS3 and available on Steam for the PC. Or, I mean, if you want to go retro, I don't know, you can always just play the original PlayStation version. Dirge of Cerberus, however, is only available on the PS2. No virtual. So, now that I've got that out of the way, here we go. Vincent is a hidden character in Final Fantasy VII that can only be unlocked inside the Shinra Mansion in Nibelheim after you open up the safe upstairs, defeat the boss called Lost Number, and receive the basement key alongside with the Odin materia, which you'll get after beating him. You then go to the basement, you unlock the door to find a room full of coffins, Vincent's coffin being around the center. He asks you a few questions, you answer them, he says never mind, you decide to leave, and then he sees you going and says, hey, wait, I'll join. So throughout the game, you'll find little hidden snippets of story here and there, but they never really give you the big picture. But that's what you got me for. So, where better to start than at the beginning?
I've heard people say...
No, not that far back. By beginning, I meant with his father, Vincent Valentine, who was a scientist that discovered an ancient Cetra tablet that spoke of two creatures, Omega and Chaos, who together would destroy all living things and absorb the life stream, or the life force of the world that sustains all life on the planet. Using this tablet, Grimoire and his assistant Lucretia Crescent discovered a cave that will later on be known as Lucretia's Cave. Inside this cave, they find a pool of contaminated life stream, or Mako, that they think will be the birthplace of Chaos and Omega. And they start to do what all scientists do. They take samples, they experiment, and, well, that last one is probably not the best thing to do because one of these experiments causes an explosion. And trying to protect Lucretia, Grimoire dies. So, now that I've told you that, I can now tell you about the man that you clicked this video to see. Now, Vincent's story begins around 25 years or so before the events of Final Fantasy VII. Vincent was a member of the Turks. No, not them. These Turks. An elite espionage team that worked for the Shinra Electric Power Company, doing all kinds of top-secret work for them. However, when he was assigned to help the Genova project in Nibelheim, that's where he met Lucretia Crescent, the same Lucretia who assisted his father in the experiment that got him killed some years prior. She recognized Vincent as the son of Grimoire immediately, however, Vincent had no idea that she was involved in his father's death. As time went on, the two spent more and more time with each other, eventually falling in love, though Lucretia still kept her involvement in Vincent's father's death a secret, up until Vincent found a file on her computer telling of Lucretia's time working with his father. He then confronted her, asked her why she'd never told him of her involvement before. She explained that she felt extremely guilty over his father's death, and felt that she was responsible since Grimoire had died saving her. Vincent tried to tell her it wasn't her fault at all, and that he didn't blame her. But it didn't matter. She felt guiltier than ever. It was this guilt that made her start avoiding Vincent, to the point of becoming romantically involved with another doctor working on the project, Professor Hojo, going so far as to marry him, after which she became pregnant with his child. Hojo, being the despicable man that he is, decided that this was the perfect opportunity to experiment on an unborn child, be it his or not. And so he started pumping the mother and child full of cells that he got from some alien from space called Genova. The cells had an unexpected side effect. They gave Lucretia visions of the future where she saw her child Sephiroth and all the horrible things he would do. But these visions came at a price. They were extremely painful and would often leave her collapse in agony on the floor. When Vincent saw this, he confronted Hojo about it. And during their argument, Hojo, being the little weasel he is, shot Vincent. He then decided to use Vincent's half-dead body as a test subject to see if he could increase the endurance of a human body and give it the ability to transform into various monstrous forms. However, the experiment was a failure because although Vincent was technically still alive, he was in a death-like state. Upon finding out about this, Lucretia, in a last-ditch effort to save Vincent, injected him with some of the chaos-tainted Mako from his father's experiments. And due to the experiments that Hojo did on Vincent's body, trying to make it stronger and tougher, it was a success, and his body was able to contain the monster chaos inside of it. Contain, but not control. However, Lucretia thought of this ahead of time, and she put a special type of materia found in the same cave that the Chaos Mako came from into Vincent's chest, allowing him some degree of control over the Chaos Monster. As a result of the Chaos creature within him and the experiments done by Hojo, Vincent gains many superhuman abilities like enhanced strength, speed, endurance, and agility, as well as the ability to regenerate and transform into a multitude of monstrous beasts. When Vincent woke on the operating table with his new body and found out Lucretia had killed herself after giving birth, he blamed himself for her death and locked himself into a coffin in the basement of the Shinra mansion in Nibelheim to atone for his sins of not being able to stop Hojo from experimenting on Lucretia, and he remained there for 25 years until Cloud found him, and the rest is RPG history. Now, I won't get into the story of Final Fantasy VII and tell you everything that happened after he joined Cloud and his group. That's not my job. I'm more of a backstory guy. But if you'd like to hear the rest of the story, I highly recommend that you go out and beat the game for yourself. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please subscribe. Also, if you have a character that you'd like to suggest, leave a comment below, and they just may end up being the next character in Ally Assessment.